Greetings everyone. I would like to say thank you to all the parties so we SGD 7 could present our paper titled The Health Impact of Global Warming. Let me introduce myself first. My name is Idai Prabasintewi with the last digits of my student number R146. Here are the members of SGD 7. Let me start this presentation with introduction. Global warming, driven primarily by greenhouse gas emissions from human activities, is pushing global temperatures higher than ever. This rise is fueling extreme weather events, from scorching heat waves to unpredictable rainfall and even stronger natural disasters. But it's not just the planets that's at risk. Human health is also under serious threat. The quality of the air we breathe, the water we drink, and the food we eat is being compromised. And at the same time, we are seeing more disease outbreaks and more lives lost to heat-related illnesses. This writing aims to explore how global warming affects health and to find ways to enhance health system preparedness in the face of ongoing climate change.
Okay, we'll continue. My name is Iputu Pranada Vidasagara with the last 3 digits of my student number R059. So there are the problem formulations of the student project. First, what is the definition of global warming? Second, what are the causes of global warming? Third, what are the environmental consequences of global warming? Fourth, what are the health impacts of global warming? Fifth, what are the strategies and solutions for global warming? And the general purpose of this student project is to comprehensively explain the health impacts of global warming and increase understanding of this condition. There are specific purposes of this student project. First, understanding the definition of global warming. Second, understanding the causes of global warming. Third, explaining the environmental consequences of global warming. Fourth, explaining the health impacts of global warming. Fifth, explaining the strategies and solutions for global warming. The theoretical benefit of this student project is as a reference to enhance knowledge and informed descriptions about the health impacts of global warming to the healthcare providers and public. And the practical benefit of the student project is to improve the healthcare providers and public awareness of the health impacts of global warming.
Thank you for the opportunity. Please let me introduce myself. My name is Divya Givansius with the last three-digit number 088. I will now explain about the definition of global warming. Global warming is the long-term rise in Earth's temperature, mainly driven by human activities such as burning fossil fuels. This releases greenhouse gases that trap heat in the atmosphere, causing significant warming since the mid-20th century. Its impacts are widespread, including melting ice and rising sea levels that threaten coastal areas, while extreme weather events like heat waves, droughts, and storms are being more frequent. These changes disrupt agriculture, strain water supplies, and endanger both ecosystems and human health. The next will be explained by my friend. Thank you.
Hello everyone, my name is Juanda and my last digit number is 095. So I'm going to explain about the causes of the global warming. Global warming is mainly driven by human activities and the largest contributor is greenhouse emissions, which is carbon dioxide from burning fossil fuels, methane from livestock and waste, and nitrous oxide from fertilizers. Deforestation also plays a big role because it reduces carbon storage and adds about a 10% of global CO2 emissions. Industrializations and rapid urbanizations also increase energy demand, releasing more greenhouse gases, while agriculture adds methane and nitrous oxide. On the other hand, natural factors such as a volcanic activity and solar variation have only a minor impact. Volcanic eruptions can cool the atmosphere temporarily, but add some CO2 in the long run, and changes in the solar radiation explain less than 10% of the recent warming. In conclusion, the scientific consensus is clear that global warming is primarily caused by human actions, and reducing emissions is essential to limit its impact. That's all for the cases, and will be continued by my friend. Thank you.
My name is Jila Fitriata Tagete with the last three digits of my student ID is 140. So as we know that global warming causes temperature rise, and this is due to the increasing greenhouse gases, and these greenhouse gases essentially re-emit the heat energy from the infrared radiation and they reflect it back to the earth and also to the space. And they cause first the melting ice and coastal impact. So, for instance, the glaciers in the Himalaya are melting at an increasing speed, and they cause water contamination, overflow in the agricultural irrigation, and river flooding, and also coastal flooding. And moreover, um, these melting cause an increase in the sea level and also ocean acidification. Um, Other than that, they also disrupt the ecosystem, specifically that biodiversity and the ecosystem of the marine life. So the rise in the ocean temperature and pH disrupt the physiology, behavior, and affect their growth and survival, leading to change in the population and seasonal pattern. They also cause severe coral bleaching, which leads to coral death and also disrupts the entire reef ecosystem. That is it all from me, and thank you.
I will continue the presentations, but before that, my name is Ida Ibrahim Surya, with the last three digits to the number 230. Now I will explain about the direct physiological impacts of global warming. So the human body maintains stability through regulations, but during extreme heat, this mechanism can become overwhelmed, especially under global warming. Prolonged exposure leads to dehydrations, cardiovascular strain, impaired brain function, and heat-related illness such as heat exhaustion and heat stroke, which can be fatal without prompt intervention. Therefore, vigilance, early recognition of symptoms, adequate hydration, and cooling strategies are essential to protect health and survival during rising temperatures.
Greetings, doctors. My name is Janet Geraldine with the last digit number 119. Climate change has wide-reaching health impacts. Beyond damaging the environment, it increases the risk of non-communicable diseases and puts strain on healthcare systems. Key drivers include heat waves, air pollution, wildfires, droughts, floods, and extreme weather events. Together, these create both direct and indirect threats to human health. So let's look more closely at three of the biggest health hazards. First, heat waves. When temperature rises, the body experiences stress. Heart rate increases, blood thickens, and clotting becomes more likely. This significantly raises the risk of cardiovascular events such as stroke and heart attack. For example, each 1 degree increase in temperature is linked with a measurable rise in cardiovascular deaths, and nighttime heat has been shown to further increase stroke incidence. Next, air pollution. Fine particles and toxic gases penetrate deep into the lungs and bloodstream. They trigger inflammation, oxidative stress, and damage to blood vessels. Over time, this contributes to ischemic stroke, heart disease, arrhythmias, and lung cancer. For people with asthma and COPD, pollution can worsen their symptoms and increase hospitalizations. Finally, wildfires. The most immediate risk are burns and suffocation from oxygen depletion and toxic gases. But even for communities far away, wildfire smoke contains particulate matter that travels long distances, worsening asthma, COPD, and cardiovascular disease. Wildfires also destroy homes, healthcare facilities, and infrastructure, cutting people off from essential medical care at the very moment they need it most. Altogether, heat, pollution, and wildfires illustrate how climate change is not just an environmental issue. It is a pressing health emergency affecting every level of society. Thank you.
Thank you for the opportunity. My name is Joanna Alisata Nurharja with the last three digits of my student number 079. This time I'm going to continue the explanation of non-communicable diseases as the health impact of global warming. The next one is droughts. Droughts reduce water availability, lower food and energy production, and raise the risk of wildfires and ecosystem damage. They worsen air quality through dust and smoke, and unstable food supplies often lead to undernutrition and malnutrition. Communities facing prolonged drought may experience economic hardship, displacement, and serious psychological consequences. The next one are floods. Floods can release hazardous chemicals into the environment, causing skin, respiratory, and systemic health effects for both victims and responders. They also damage hospitals and critical infrastructure, limiting access to medical services when they are most needed. Beyond these physical risks, displacement, loss, and unsafe conditions during floods often trigger stress, anxiety, and long term mental health challenges. The next one are injuries and mortality from extreme weather events. Heat waves, wildfires, and other extreme weather events create multiple threats to health. Prolonged heat exposure increases the risk of exhaustion, heat stroke, and death, especially for vulnerable groups such as outdoor workers, the elderly, and people with chronic conditions. Wildfire smoke and worsening air pollution aggravate respiratory and cardiovascular disease, while the social and economic disruptions of disasters often lead to anxiety, depression, and other psychological impacts. Now, the last one are impacts on healthcare facilities. Climate change strains health systems by adding both disasters and chronic disease burdens. Floods, power outages, and damaged infrastructure disrupt hospital services, while closures leave others overcrowded. Broken supply chains and overworked staff further weaken the system's ability to protect communities. That is all from me. The next will be continued by my friend. Thank you.
Let me introduce myself. My name is Ide Bagus Tresna Indra Putra Pramana with the last three digit of student number 104. And now I will explain about the infectious disease regarding to climate change. The first one is airborne viral infections. Climate change has a strong influence on how airborne viruses spread. Respiratory viruses like influenza, RSV, and coronaviruses survive longer in low temperatures and low humidity, which means transmission becomes easier. When we spend more time indoors in poorly ventilated and dry spaces, the risk of infection is even higher because viral particles can stay in the air and travel farther. Air pollution, especially fine particles like PM2.5, also makes things worse by increasing hospitalizations and weakening our immune system. On top of that, climate driven wildfires release toxic smoke that further contributes to viral spread. And in crowded rooms with poor ventilation, higher CO2 levels can make viruses persist up to 10 times longer. All these factors combined mean that future airborne outbreaks may be more frequent, longer lasting, and even more severe. The next one is waterborne diseases. Climate change also impacts waterborne diseases in several ways. Warmer water temperatures encourage the growth of pathogens such as Vibrio, which can cause gastroenteritis, wound infections, and even sepsis. We've already seen this in Northern Europe, where unusually warm summers have led to more Vibrio infections. Flooding and heavy rainfall damage sanitation systems and also contaminate drinking water, which can trigger outbreaks of E. coli, norovirus, and also cholera, especially in areas with poor infrastructure. On the other side, drought makes water sources scarce and also concentrates pathogens in what's left, often forcing people to use the untreated water and also the stagnant water. This increases the risk of infections like Cryptosporidium and also Giardia, which are particularly dangerous for children. Overall, climate change is creating conditions that can increase both in the frequency and severity of waterborne diseases outbreaks worldwide. And the presentation will be continued by my friend.
Hello, my name is Vantagara Jarawan with 073 as last digits of my student number. So this time I will explain about the third infectious disease, namely vector-borne disease. So vector-borne disease, or VBD, is defined as any disease transmitted by vectors, most commonly biting arthropods. They are commonly found in hot and humid areas, such as tropical countries. As the effect of global warming, rising temperature favors the reproduction of vectors and hence increase the transmission of VBD. Rising temperature causes high precipitation, and through rainfall, also highly favors the transmission of mosquito-borne infections by providing breeding sites. High precipitation causes high humidity and also helps the hydroregulation of vectors, which maintain their activity. I think that's all from me. The next one will be explained by my colleague. Thank you.
Hello, my name is Janarka Pramesti with the last three digits number 208. So now I'm going to explain about the strategies and solution for global warming. So global warming can be reduced with strategies that also improve health. Switching to clean energy lowers air pollution and prevent respiratory diseases. Active transport like walking or cycling reduces emission while keeping people fit. Dietary changes such as eating less red meat, more plant-based foods, and cutting food waste help reduce emission and prevent chronic illness. Cities can adapt to extreme heat with more green spaces, cool roofs, and early warning system to protect vulnerable groups. The health sector can contribute through energy efficient, climate-friendly hospitals. This solution both fight climate change and protect public health. So that's all from me. Thank you.
So the conclusions from these presentations is that global warming is the persistent rise in Earth's average surface temperatures. It's mainly driven by human activities such as burning fossil fuels, releasing greenhouse gases such as carbon dioxide, methane, nitrous oxide into the atmosphere. Global warming, mainly caused by human activities such as burning fossil fuels, agriculture, and deforestation, lead to rising temperatures, melting ice, sea level rise, and biodiversity loss. This change can harm human health by disrupting thermoregulations, increasing heat-related illness, worsening cardiovascular and respiratory disease, and spreading infectious diseases like influenza, cholera, and dengue. To address this risk, urgent strategies including reducing greenhouse gas emissions through clean energy, sustainable transport, eco-friendly diets, and climate-resilient healthcare system action that protect both the environment and public health. That's all the presentations about the health impact on global warming by B7. Thank you.